Hey, you know that grinder in the background?
Yeah, what about it?
Can I take that with me on hunts? Gentlemen and monsters of all ages, the future is now! By which, of course, what I mean is that Title Update 3 is released for Sunbreak, and along with it, our builds have changed dramatically. Whether you prefer raw attack, weapon status-focused builds, or harnessing the elements to use against their forebears, or something has happened in the update to just change up your build in a significant way. Today I'm going to be talking about what has slowly become my sort of main weapon in Sunbreak. Of course, don't get me wrong, I still love the hunting horn, it's still my favorite, but the sword and shield has just felt like home the last couple of months since I've started playing it seriously. So let's talk about the brand new best build for Sword and Shield, and why it's actually incredibly strong even compared to the best builds from the last update. First up, the weapon itself. And this may give some things away if you know what's going on, because we're going to be using the Lucent Nargacuga Sword and Shield. Once you have the augments applied, this thing goes up to 350 attack on top of its rampage slot upgrade, which is tied highest raw with Scorned Magnamalo. The new Chaotic Gore SNS reaches higher raw than that, but not only does it not have purple sharpness without using handicraft, it also has negative affinity, so this weapon is sadly just not great unless you are specifically doing a bloodlust focused build, in which case it of course gets notably better. So again, today we're going to be going with the Lucent Nargacuga Sword and Shield. In the last update I recommended using Scorned over this, so what has changed? Well, put simply, some of the new armor has increased the space in the build, and one of the new decorations that we unlocked fits in there in a beautiful way to increase our damage by pretty much 10%. Yep, you heard that right. The culprit, Grinder S. I have been a big proponent of this skill since Sunbreak came out. I've been trying to make it work for ages because I think it's really neat, and it also originated on a crab armor set, and I love the crab, so there's that too. What this skill does is change your sharpness modifier for a set amount of time after you sharpen to regain more than one level of sharpness. For example, if you go from blue sharpness to purple sharpness. Overall, this results in a 10% raw attack increase while the skill is active. The reason that this works so fantastically with the Lucent Nargacuga sword is because it has 20 hits of purple sharpness, which is low enough that you'll eat through it pretty quickly at the beginning of a hunt, and then it only has 10 hits of white. That's barely existent. Those 10 hits will go incredibly quickly, then you hit blue sharpness, sharpen back to purple, and with that you've got 2 ranks of the skill, which we have here, and you will keep this buff active for 60 seconds after sharpening. But 20 hits of purple won't last 60 seconds, right? Well, we have 2 ways to get around that. The first is 2 ranks of protective polish. This keeps your sharpness from decreasing for 60 seconds after sharpening your weapon, which of course is a perfectly lining up timer with our Grinder S. Alternatively, because we are specifically using Sword and Shield, you can actually restore your sharpness yourself. If you didn't know, Sword and Shield got a slight buff in the patch that brought this Title Update 3, buried deep in the patch notes. Destroyer Oil, the new silkbind that was added in Sunbreak, now also restores a good chunk of sharpness, about 20 hits or so. While this amount of sharpness is slight, it gives more of a reason to use Destroyer Oil, and if you time it right with this specific weapon and this specific build, it can bring you back from blue to purple sharpness, activating Grinder on its own, which makes it quite potent. So with that said, let's look at our switch skills today. The first slot is personal choice. Hard Basher combo is nice with a more raw focused build like we have. Twin Blade combo is just an excellent switch skill for more damage, it's just the better of the options. Metsu Shoryu Geki is our highest damage singular move for Sword and Shield, and a functional counterattack that negates damage taken, which makes it incredible, as well as being able to activate offensive guard. And then in the last slot I recommend Shield Bash. This gives you incredible movement while also dealing a surprising amount of damage and guarding while you do it. On your off scroll I recommend putting Destroyer Oil for the purposes that I've just mentioned earlier. This lets you switch back and forth between the scrolls depending on when you actually want to use which one. As far as the talisman that I'm using today, it is one with 3 attack boost and a 3 slot, so 3 attack and a 2 slot will work as well, or some other variation of this skill space if you mess around with the curio crafting on the armor. But getting a good talisman has never been easier than it is right now. I got this one since the update is dropped by just doing attack specific melds, so it's pretty easy to get. Then moving on to the armor itself, we'll be using the Lunagaron helmet, Risen Teostra chest, the Risen Chameleos gloves, and then the Violet Mizutsune waist and legs. In the decoration slots you should put in 1 Polisher Pro plus jewel, 1 Sharp plus jewel, 4 attack jewels, 3 critical jewels, 1 expert jewel, and 1 offensive guard jewel. For your rampage decoration, use the various anti species decorations depending on which monster you're about to fight, and then this will leave you with 2 free 1 slots in your armor. I recommend using these for Chameleos Blessing to bring this to rank 3 on top of the 1 rank on the arms, which doubles the length of poison and thus the uptime of Foray when it does proc, while also giving the extra damage from the poison timer increasing itself. As for the augments that we are aiming for, we have 2 goals here: finishing off Agitator to get the full 5 ranks, and getting Burst, the skill previously known as Chain Crit, as it works excellently well for Sword and Shield. Counting one of these skills on each armor piece, you can max out both of these skills from where we're at. Alternatively, if you would rather have some more comfort, change up the Burst augments that I recommended instead for Evade Extender, however much you feel comfortable with, however much you need, as I find the skill just feels really nice and comfortable on Sword and Shield. With all of that covered, what is the skill list of this build when full and complete? You've got Attack Boost 7, Critical Eye 7, Agitator 5, Weakness Exploit 3, Critical Boost 3, Offensive Guard 3, Flinch Free 3, Chameleos Blessing 3, Burst 3, Protective Polish 2, Grinder S 2, Blast Attack 1 is just a bonus from my talisman, Wirebug Whisperer 1, Adrenaline Rush 1, Embolden 1, Spearbird's Call if you can augment it on 2, which I have, for a 1, Build Up Boost 1, and then Powder Mantle 1, which is just an interesting new skill that gives you a pop of up to 600 damage every once in a while if you don't get hit. With that said, let's dig into the math of all of this to properly discuss why this is so damn good. First up, the weapon's raw attack itself is 350 once it's augmented. Add on plus 10 from attack boost, plus 15 from chain crit's full bonus, and another plus 10 for agitator counted at 50% uptime, which you can reach in solo hunts if you have Embolden, which we do. We have Adrenaline Rush level 1 and Foray level 1 as well, and while both of these will be active at certain stages throughout the hunt, they won't be consistently active or predictably active, so I won't count those bonuses in the math, but know that they are there. So without those two, we have 385 raw, times 1.1 for attack boost, times 1.15 for offensive guard, which is consistently active between Metsu Shoryugeki, Shield Bash, or just generally guarding at a good time, times 1.033 repeating for build up boost, which boosts the raw attack of any attack that deals status damage by 10%. Status activates on 33% of hits on status weapons, which this one is, so we take a third of that bonus in our overall damage calculation. Times 1.39 for purple sharpness, then times 1.1 for the bonus from Grinder S being active, which you can get the whole hunt after the first 30 hits, and then finally times 1.39 for 97.5% affinity with full crit boost. And we've got our final total effective raw of 1069 nice 0.6. Yep, we've officially breached the barrier of quadruple digits. What a joyous day it is. As you can see by my hits in the game, this equates to a lot of damage all the time, no matter where you're hitting. When everything is active, you will just absolutely slap the monster in the face, even if you're not hitting it in the face. Keep in mind, this is a Risen Kushala. He doesn't have super squishy hit zones. The numbers aren't inflated. This build just hits really hard regardless. Overall, I really like this build. I'm extremely happy for the fact that it exists, and I'm ecstatic that our build space is finally at the point where we can finally reliably use the Grinder S skill and make it actually worth using in a build that can be labeled the best. I love this skill, and now everyone else will start to love it as much as I do. I hope you've enjoyed this build, and if you make it for yourself, I wish you all the best in hunting with it as well. Like if you like the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.